Alright, let's see if we can do this. Come on. That's off, that's off, that's off. That's on. That's on. Alright, I think we're good to go. Hello! Shadowcat back with more Pokemon. We're almost done. I do believe that we're almost done. I think we're almost done anyway. So we're going to get into that today. I don't know if we're actually going to finish it or not. I don't even know if I'm ready to finish it or not, because if I do, then I have a whole new stream to start. And I mean, it's just too much, man. It's too much pressure. But we're still going to do it. We're going to go ahead. We're going to finish this up. I am still sick. I'm still getting over it. My throat is a little bit raw, which means that my voice is almost getting down to the point where I can do those theatrical trailers in a world where Pokemon are your friends. Two people stand to get in the way of that. Jesse, James, coming this summer to a theater near you. Team Rocket blasting off again in select theaters. Yeah, so there are perks to getting sick. My throat does that. It's the only perk, and it's not even a very good one. But we're still going to do this. I see that I have people in the chat. It's going to be fantastic. Hello, Alden. It's good to see you this morning. Hello, Blizz. It's good to see you too. I see that Jeffrey just popped in. Hello, Jeffrey. It's good to see you too. Jeffrey, or no, it's JP, not Jeffrey. See, my head is not in the right place this morning. JP says it is -2 degrees here. It's warmer here, but like, oh my god. Let me go ahead and check the weather on that one. Let's see. Weather on my phone says it is 21 degrees right now. However, it has been snowing all night, which means that after I get done with this, I have to go out and shovel snow, because I don't think I have any gas for the snowblower. And that's just unfortunate. We'll figure that out when the time comes. Let's see. Otherwise, JP says have some tea and honey. I can't make tea right now. A little bit busy. As far as honey goes, I have these cough drops. And these cough drops are, let's see. These are for cough and throat relief. Cool. As nasal passages, it says honey lemon flavor. It's really lies and betrayal flavor, because it doesn't taste like either of those things. But okay, let's go ahead and get to this, because we're not done with evolutions yet. We still have a few more weird ones to finish up, and we have the one from last week that we got to do, so we'll get into that. As I'm pulling this stuff up, though, of course, if you haven't subscribed already, go ahead and do that. You know, if you're here and you haven't done it, it's one button. Just push the button. Blizz says, probably tastes like sugar. No, it does not taste like sugar. It tastes like minty death. It's terrible. I hate it. After you subscribe, hit the bell icon. That way we get notified every time these videos come out. If you know somebody else who's also into Pokemon, go ahead and share this with them. If you don't know somebody who's also into Pokemon, find somebody who is. You should have friends that share your interests. Otherwise, though, if you just like me, like what I'm doing, leave a like on the stream. You want to join our Discord, you can do that. You can leave comments down below, or you can leave comments there. And if you want to play with us, you got to join the Discord. It's not an option. You have to join the Discord. You have to go to the behind the screen channel so that you can join us, you can play with us, and we can have fun together. Alright, so, getting into this, where were we last time? We were going over evolutions last time. And for the most part, evolutions are pretty straightforward. I mean, if you're if your Pokemon evolves by leveling, it just evolves by leveling. If your Pokemon evolves by walking, we're not actually tracking steps because that would be literally impossible. Not to mention that 1,000 steps is only like a quarter mile, so we're not doing that. Instead, you need to travel 100 miles overland. Now that sounds like a lot, because if you had to walk 100 miles, that is a lot. However, at average walking speed, which is about 3 miles an hour, you can cover about 24 miles in a day of travel. That's 8 hours. And that means that you finish up your 100 miles in about 4 days. Plus a little extra. So it's really not that big a deal. Trade evolutions. So, trade evolutions we spent a lot of time on. I know that not everybody is thrilled with the whole trade evolution thing. But I'm keeping it because narratively it is a goldmine. The idea is that you will trade you will evolve your Pokemon simply by trading ownership. And society is going to play a huge role here. We have some basic rules. First off, no trade backs, okay? Trading is one way only. And the reason for that is because our Pokemon are simply going to be evolving from the experience of leaving one life and entering another. As such, to trade back would be to both rob them of that experience, and it would be extremely selfish on your part. If you really wanted to keep your Pokemon, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to find somebody else who is also a trainer of the same Pokemon and trade with them. That way, both of you get a shared experience out of it, and it sets up narrative beats for later on in the story, which is a good thing. Now, it's not to say trading back is impossible. There's literally nobody with a gun who's going to stop you from doing it, but it is a social faux pas, and you will need to make a certain check to actually accomplish that. So, that's how that's going to work. Which then takes us into where we left off last time, which is getting into the weird ones. And I say that because this is going to be the Pokemon that have like very, very specific evolution triggers. So, for example, we talked about the Farfetch'd and the Surfetch'd. That is going to be just... We can follow the rules on that. I'm going to go ahead and make one modification to that. I'm going to make one modification to that. I'm going to copy that and move this down, okay? So, Farfetch'd. Now, according to this, Farfetch'd evolves into Surfetch'd if it lands 3 critical hits in a single battle. Now, I've been told, and I recall last time, I think it was Alden said that it does require a very specific build with specific gear and specific moves and stuff like that. And that's fine. I'm actually really great with that. However, landing 3 hits, or 3 critical hits in one battle in the tabletop game is going to be basically impossible. Okay? The battles are not going to be long enough. The odds are really too small. It's just not going to happen. So what we're going to do is this. Instead of it being 3 crits in one battle, it's going to be after critically hitting 3 times. Period. Okay, so if you have a Farfetch'd, which I'm not even sure what a Farfetch'd is. What is it? Oh, wait, it's that one. I know what that one. I've seen that one before. Anyway, if this is your Pokemon, if this is the one that you want to have, all you need to do is keep track of how many times did you roll a natural 20 while you were using it. Alden says, oh, so across the lifetime. Yes, exactly. When you are attacked, or when you're doing anything in in a tabletop game like this, you're rolling a d20, so there's a 5% chance that you're going to get a critical hit. And that is not exactly a high level, but it does happen more often than you'd think. The problem is it's just not generally going to happen all in one fight. So we'll do it over a lifetime, and that way, number one, it keeps the rule more or less the same as it was before, which is good because we want to keep it as close as possible to the rules that Pokemon already has. And number two, it's going to make it a lot more feasible. Your Farfetch'd will evolve at some point. There's no scenario with the rule that I'm putting in where your Farfetch'd is not going to evolve eventually. It could be level 100 by the time it happens, but it will happen eventually. And it should happen before that, unless you get severely unlucky. Alden says, this is specifically for the Galarian version. Kanto Farfetch'd doesn't evolve. Yeah, and Blizz echoing the same thing. Well, I mean, there's the Galarian one. Oh, he's cool! Also, that's a really big leak. Okay, either way, that should be fine. I think it'll be a good change. Now, that one's easy. Getting into the Galarian Yamask? Nah, So, we did kind of go down the rabbit hole when we were talking about that one, because we had to get into, like, Pokemon lore. Serious Pokemon lore on that one. Because it really brought into question, like, what even are Pokemon? And I've decided that my Pokemon lore for my games, oh my god. So, Pokemon are people. I've said it, I'm sticking with it. Pokemon are people. Okay? Pokemon are reincarnated human souls. And I'm sticking with it. I'm doing that. That's my game, my system, my rules. I know that there is Pokemon lore out there that goes back to the creation thing, and that they have all the different creation legendaries and all that stuff. I personally don't think that I'm stepping on too much there. I don't think so anyway. But I'm going with it because it just seems too fitting. So, in the Pokemon universe, there is a god. In that universe, God created Arceus. After creating Arceus, God created man. And when man died, Arceus said, "Oh, look at that, a perfectly good spirit that's being, not used." And so Arceus took the first spirit and created the first Pokemon. And so it's going to be a continuous cycle. Humans are born, humans die, and then spirits become Pokemon eggs, and they become Pokemon, and when a Pokemon dies, I don't know. I really have no idea what happens at that point. But the point is that Pokemon were people. And simply by doing that, it's going to fix like so many things in the Pokemon game. Also, yes, JP, I see that. No, we're not going down a rabbit hole. We're not spending a lot of time on this one. I'm just going over this really quickly because I think it needs to be firmly established. Anyway, though, so basically anybody is going to become a Pokemon when they die. The Pokemon that you become is going to be dependent on your typing that you were born as, because as we pointed out, and that's why I was on this before, every trainer is going to get a type. Well, I'm explaining that to every person. Everybody is going to have a certain type. And then when you get into things like, the ghost type Pokemon, where this person became a ghost Pokemon when they drowned, well, yeah. So even if you were, say, like an ice type person, but you drowned in the water, well, guess what? You come back as a ghost type. It's a little bit weird, but I mean, it's in the Pokédex, so I'm just using what I got. So there's that. And that's why we didn't get this done last time, because we went way down that rabbit hole. That was a deep one. Anyway, so the Galarian Yamask is going to turn into Ruinergus when they travel through a stone gate in the Dusty Bowl. Now, I seem to recall that somebody, I believe it was Alden, had mentioned ruins. And I think that's exactly what I'm going to do, is I'm going to replace that with ruins, because the stone gate in the Dusty Bowl is way too specific for what we want to do. So, what we're going to do is we're going to write our own rule here. And so the Galarian Yamask is going to keep the same 49 HP. So, after taking 49 HP of damage, and while not fainted, visiting a ruin triggers evolution. Now, ruins, I do believe, are in every game. I think they're even pretty common. Because I've only played a couple of the games, but I think that Pokemon archaeology is like a huge thing in every one of the games. That's why you get fossils in like every one of the games. They're always excavating something. So, when making the map, I just need to make sure to put ruins in various different places. And that way, if somebody has a Yamask, then all you need to do is battle with it. And while it is wounded, take it to a ruin, not even necessarily a specific ruin, but just a ruin, and it should evolve. It's clean. I like it. So that one's good. That one's done. Now, let's get into the next one, because I want to make sure we finish these up. I mean, ideally, I get the rest of these finished up in like 10 minutes, but yeah. Alden says, it's hard to think of a game that does not have ruins. Cool. Blizz says, on the part of the human deaths, ghost Pokemon from tragedy or bad things, what about if a human dies peacefully, it can be reborn as its trainer type? Well, yeah, that's kind of what I'm saying. Natural deaths, when you die, your soul, your spirit, leaves your body. However, instead of going up to heaven, or whatever the Pokemon equivalent of heaven would be, I'm not even sure. Do they ever mention heaven in Pokemon ever? Because, like, if they do, then that's a bit of a conflict, but if they never do, that's extra points by reincarnation theory. Anyway, instead of your soul going up to heaven, you simply recycle back into a Pokemon. And, yeah. Alden says, there is an afterlife. Alright, fair. I can make that work too, though. I can do that. I mean, maybe not everybody cycles back into a Pokemon. Maybe just some people do. I don't know. I do know that, who was it? Was it Alden? Was it JP? Somebody said that, you're supposed to reincarnate into a higher being. Maybe only bad people reincarnate into Pokemon. If you really want to think that Pokemon are a lower being. Let's see. Alden says, it's not super detailed, but the Pokemon anime has characters return as ghosts in specific locations. As much as I don't really want to, I don't want to nitpick the anime or the manga too much, but, how do you know it wasn't a ghost Pokemon? I mean, it could be a trick played by a ghost Pokemon. Alden says there's a cave in Sun and Moon where a character spoke with their deceased mother. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Could be a Pokemon. Could be a hallucination. I don't know. Maybe there's a gas leak in the cave. Either way, I'm sticking with my theory. Let's see. JP says, can I turn Pokeballs into holy hand grenades with a fire or explosive type? Actually, yes, you can. The Pokemon that you're going to want is called Electrode. Okay? So, you're going to get your Pokeball out. You're going to count to 3. Thou shalt not count to 2, excepting that thou count or proceed immediately to 3. Okay? Thou shalt not count to 4. 5 is right out. Thou shalt count to 3, throw the Pokeball, and then, when Electrode comes out, thou shalt speak the magic words. Electrode, use thine explosion. And there you go. You will have a hand grenade. Let's see. Alden says, there's another where a Pokemon spoke with its deceased parental figure, who was also a Pokemon. I think that's, Cubone, actually. Actually, it's just wearing its dead mother's skull. I don't know if, or necessarily know if it talks back to them. On that note, not all Ghost-type Pokemon are supernatural spirits. Yes, that's true. Some of them are just weird. Like, what was that one Ghost-type that Cynthia had? I don't remember what it's called now, but it was weird. I was never scared of it, and I didn't really find it that much of a threat, but it looked weird. I remember that much, at least. Okay, anyway, getting back to this. Milceri. Oh, Bliss says Spiritomb. Okay, yeah, that's probably it. Let's see, Alden says Spiritomb is a ghost, though. I know it's a ghost. That's why I'm using that as an example. It is a rock projecting a spirit. Oh, is that why it looks so weird? I could never really figure out what it was. I couldn't tell head from tail. A rock projecting a spirit. Okay. Honestly, it's not the weirdest thing Pokemon's ever put out. Okay, so getting back to evolutions. Milcery. Milcery evolves into Alcremie when the player spins and strikes a pose, while Milcery holds a sweet. Unless it's shiny, the color depends on the time of day, the length of the spin, the direction of the spin. If Milcery is shiny, Alcremie takes on its sole shiny coloration. The sweet corresponds to the sweet Milcery held, and it evolves into this. Okay. So here's the thing. This is very, very specific. It's also very, very specific to the game, because there's literally nothing about this that we need to be doing. However, that being said, this would be absolutely trivial in the game. Because, oh, I can just say that I'm going to spin clockwise for, less than 5 seconds during the day. Alright, fine, whatever. However, it does say that it needs to be holding a sweet, right? Yeah, right here, while it holds a sweet. Now, getting that sweet could be a huge problem for you. So if I look at the sweets, we've got strawberry sweets, love sweets, berry sweets, clover sweets, whatever. Where do you plan to get one of those? Now see, this is where something incredibly simple in the video game is going to turn out to be really, really difficult for you in the tabletop game. The whole thing about spinning is going to be, who cares? However, where do you plan on getting one of these? You are going to need to find a town, and in that town, you are going to need to find a baker, and you're going to have to buy a sweet from that baker. Now, is that terribly difficult? No, it's not. It really isn't. However, just because it is not difficult to do does not necessarily mean it is not going to be difficult to find. After all, you're gonna be on the road a lot. And yes, you will be traveling from town to town to town, but not every town is necessarily going to have all of the same amenities. Like, every single town is going to have a Pokemon Center. Every single town will have a basic Pokemart. But not every town may have the creams and sweets that you need. So, well, we can basically take this entire section here and get rid of it. The fact is that we can just use the idea that you need to give your Milcery a sweet. And that should evolve it on the spot. It's just a matter of finding it. So in that way, the sweets are basically going to take on the same properties as stones. Just like you would give a Thunderstone to an Eevee to get a, crap, I should know this one. Jolteon. I can't believe I had to think about that one. My brain is cooked today. Yeah, just like you would give a Thunderstone to a Jolteon, you're going to give a sweet to your Milcery, and it'll evolve. So let's put that note in there. Milcery. Treat sweets like evolution stones. And there we go. That should be super easy. And that takes care of a huge block of text for us, so that's great. Now, as for the color, like, see, here's the other thing. This is going to change the color of your of your Alcremie. So if I look at the Alcremie, dear God, it Gigantamaxes. It does not show me all the different colors. No, wait, here we go. Here's all the different colors. So there's vanilla, ruby, matcha, mint, lemon, salted, ruby, caramel, rainbow. See, these are all really, really good. And if you're playing the handheld game, this might be important to you, because you're going to actually be looking at it. We're playing on paper. Frankly, the color is never, ever going to come up. Now, if you want to still try and get that rainbow swirl Alcremie, because you want the prestige for it, well, we have rules for that. For the Rainbow Swirl Alcremie, you need to spin counterclockwise for more than 10 seconds during the evening between 7 and 7:59 p.m. in real time in Pokemon Sword and Shield. Well, I mean, if we're using the Sword and Shield Pokedex, and you wanted to do this, I will go ahead and let you write Rainbow Alcremie on your character sheet. It will literally not affect anything else. But if it's important to you, it can be done. Alright, so we're moving on. Kubfu evolves into Urshifu when shown the scroll of one of the Towers of the Two Fists. The form depends on the tower it is trained in. In Scarlet and Violet, it instead uses a specific scroll to evolve. Unlike most evolution items, the scroll is not consumed after use. There's nothing we have to do here. So yeah. I don't know where this is from originally, but since Scarlet and Violet made it so you just have to use these scrolls, this is done for us. All you gotta do is find the scrolls now, and you're good to go. So, cool. Never mind, skipping it. Stantler evolves into Weirdeer after using Psyshield Bash in the Agile style at least 20 times. Let's see. Blizz says it's in the Sword and Shield DLC. Alden says Kubfu is a legendary Pokemon. So it's going to be hard to find. Okay, yeah. If it's a legendary Pokemon, you're not going to see it. I mean, that's kind of the thing about legendary Pokemon. There is only one. If you wanted to find a legendary Pokemon, that is going to be your campaign. Because it will take you that long to track it down. There's never, ever a chance that you will randomly encounter a legendary Pokemon. It's not even on the list. Okay, so still though, we can keep the rules the same. Stantler, getting back to Stantler. I can't do anything this morning. It's awful. It evolved up to using Psy Shield Bash in the Agile style at least 20 times. In Scarlet and Violet, Stantler cannot evolve. It is programmed to evolve when leveled up after using Psy Shield Bash at least 20 times, but this evolution method is disabled. Huh. Weird that they put it in there, but then they disabled it. Why would they do that? And, oh, PC's in here. Hello, PC. It's good to see you. PC says, what about a Ditto that has seen a legendary? I don't know. I don't know how Dittos really work, to be honest. I know they can, transform into anything they currently are seeing. I suppose, in theory, they could turn into anything they have seen. I don't know. Could be interesting, though. That could be a really fun thing. Like, if you're chasing after a legendary, and then the legendary turns out to be a Ditto, and you just got bad information. Alden says Dittos can transform from memory, but it is imperfect. Technically speaking, every Ditto transformation is imperfect. Because there is always, always, always a way to tell if it is a Ditto, and that's by looking at the eyes. There is no such thing as a perfect Ditto transformation. Which, frankly, is a good thing. I mean, if they could do a perfect transformation, the game would get so much worse. Okay, Alden's telling me that I'm wrong. Like, completely wrong. Alright, I'm listening. Alden says the face thing is for one specific Ditto. Alright. I'll let you cook. Educate me. Because I thought that was for every Ditto. I thought that it was literally a Ditto trait. That's just become the norm thanks to marketing. It's smart marketing, though. It's a really smart thing for, like, every Ditto to have that one trait, because it makes sense for them to have a tell, otherwise you could have Dittos everywhere. And, unfortunately, like, it's a really good thing, not just from a marketing perspective, it's a really good thing from a game design perspective, because there is a rule in, well, actually, I shouldn't say it that way. There are several rules when it comes to traps. One of the rules for traps is that you never, or nobody ever puts a trap in a place where they themselves would fall into it. So, for example, if you were walking up to, let's say, the villain's cottage, okay? And there is a walkway and there's a driveway, okay? The villain is never going to put the trap in the driveway because they have to use the driveway. And so that's a problem. At the same time, the walkway, if it's a walkway they actually use, there will not be a trap in the walkway. And if there is, it is not the primary walkway. Okay? That's like rule number 1. Rule number 2, though, is that you never use traps unless there is a reason. And the reason for that is twofold. Number 1, because kind of goes back to the first one, you would never use it unless there was a reason to do so in the first place. But from a more meta perspective, the minute that you spring a trap on your players, you are going to ratchet your players' paranoia up to 11. At which point, they will be looking for traps everywhere. They will trust nothing ever again. And it can grind an entire campaign to a halt in like 10 seconds. So traps must be used sparingly and effectively. Dittos fall into kind of the same category. If ditto transformations were perfect, then literally every single Pokemon could be a ditto. And if every single Pokemon is potentially a ditto in disguise, it's going to affect your players and their reactions to the world, because suddenly it's going to be like, well, you know what, I wanted to catch this Pokemon, but the last one I caught was just a ditto in disguise. It's going to be demoralizing. It's going to play with their patience. It's not going to do good things. Now, I do see what you're saying. In Detective Pikachu movie, they featured a Ditto that could transform into a human with 0 tells. Fair. But I think that I would rather treat that one as the exception, not the rule. I think that Dittos, when they transform, they should have the beady eyes so that anybody who is paying attention notices. And that right there is the key, because if you were to fight against some kind of really big Pokemon like a Charizard, and you're treating it like a Charizard, that's fine and all. However, all it's going to take is for one person to say, hey, can I do a perception check? And I'll say, of course you can. You are always entitled to do a perception check or ask, what do I see? And for them to say, I checked the eyes. Does it have normal eyes? At which point I can then tell them, does it have normal eyes or does it have ditto eyes? It's one of those little questions that, and I don't want to sound like I'm trying to be derogatory towards my players, but it's one of those little things that most players in the heat of the moment are never going to even think to ask. But it's also one of the things that's actually kind of really important to ask. And so you'll probably get a player who's going to check the eyes of every character or every Pokemon because they want to be thorough. Most of them just they don't. Let's see. Blizz says that Zorua can transform itself too. However, Alden countered and says that's an illusion. Fair enough. Alden says, I will say that mechanically Ditto's HP is the only thing that doesn't change after it evolves, and it's below average. Yes, but you can't see it. Which means that there's no way for you to use that as something to go by. It needs to have some kind of tell, and the eyes are going to be the tell. JP says, does Ditto then get a deception roll? Actually, weirdly, no. So, the way that usually works is you get a deception... Actually, no, let me back up and get even more foundational. Here's the thing. When it comes to rolling dice, you are only allowed to roll dice if there is a chance of failure. Okay? Technically speaking, I can make you roll dice for pretty much everything. I can have you roll dice to sit down and eat your breakfast. Why? Why would I do that? Well, there's a chance that maybe you drop your breakfast. There's a chance that maybe you spill your breakfast. there is a chance for you to fail at eating breakfast. It's a DC 2. The only way you could screw up eating breakfast is if you rolled a critical failure, but the point is that there is a failure condition. However, would I ever have you do a survival check for breathing? Well, no, I would never do that under normal circumstances because you literally cannot control your breathing. You breathe automatically. There is no circumstance at which you could critically fail at breathing, unless somebody kills you. So if there is a chance of failure, you can roll dice for it. If there is no chance of failure, if you automatically succeed it every time, you do not roll dice. Now, does that mean that Ditto gets a deception roll? In general, no, it does not. And the reason is simple. Because technically speaking, if you check the eyes of a Ditto in disguise, it is actually impossible for it to succeed. So, yeah, if it's impossible for it to succeed, then there's no roll. You just don't roll for it. Now, does that mean that the Ditto could try to deceive you? Yes. However, it's one of those rolls where it can roll for bluff, you can roll for perception. However, all you have to do is check the eyes and you can sidestep the entire roll. And it's that easy. Let's see. Blizz says, unless the wizard casts manual breathing. Well, yes, if the wizard casts manual breathing, number one, that wizard's a dick. And then, yeah, that's then true. Alden says, I will say that in Scarlet Violet, when you engage a battle with a Ditto, it will always start the battle in true form and only transform after using transform as soon as the battle starts. And that makes sense, actually. Like, I cannot see a reason why a Ditto would ever start the battle disguised as something else. That would have to be some kind of, plot point, I think. JP says you could critically fail swimming. Well, yeah, I mean, you can critically fail swimming. I've seen it happen. That is not failing to breathe, that is failing to swim. The breathing part is actually secondary. Alden says, Ditto will always transform into a random local wild Pokemon and reveal itself once the battle begins. Okay. I mean, that kind of makes sense, I guess. I don't know, I'm not sure. If it actually says that it transforms into a local random wild Pokemon, I can work with that. In which case, yeah, then there would always be a chance that it could be a Ditto. I'm okay with that. But again, now we're getting back to the eyes. And it's funny because I'm looking at the chat here and JP says, is there an eyeless Pokemon? Alden says Zubat off the top of his head. And so, like, if you found a Zubat with eyes, well, there you go. It's pretty obvious that's going to be a Ditto. No, actually, I kind of like the idea that, you know, there could be random Dittos. However, the Dittos will always have a tell. And so I think what we're going to end up with is every single time we encounter a Pokemon, somebody is going to ask the question, does it have normal eyes? If it does, fine. Okay, we're going to do this. And if it doesn't, if it has Ditto eyes, then, well, it's kind of up to you. Do you want to catch a Ditto, or do you just want to lay waste to it and move on? And Alden says, to be fair, the eyes are very, very unique. Yes, that's what I'm getting at. That's kind of what I've been getting at this entire time. If it has normal eyes, it's just a normal Pokemon. If it has Ditto eyes, it's a Ditto. It is the one tell. Everything else can be perfect. except for that. Ditto cannot change its eyes. Okay, so, anyway, that's a rabbit hole. It's a good rabbit hole, though. I'm glad we did that. Getting back to Stantler, though, I think that what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep the using Size Shield Bash 20 times. This Agile style thing, I believe Alden said that's specific to one certain game. I have no problem just dropping this, getting rid of it. And so we'll keep the Size Shield Bash 20 times. We'll keep the Evolving after 20 times, unlike Scarlet and Violet where that's disabled. And just, if you get a Stantler, use Size Shield Bash, evolve to Weirdeer. I think that works. So there we go. Use Size Shield Bash 20 times. Next, the White Striped Basculin evolves into Basculegion after losing at least 294 HP from recoil damage, not counting damage that results in fainting. In Scarlet and Violet, it must level up after losing 294 recoil damage. There's nothing I have to change here. This rule is fine. It's unique, but this rule is fine. Just keep track of how much recoil damage you've done. It's a single number, okay? All I'm asking is that you keep track of some secret or some simple numbers, okay? Keep track of your rations, keep track of your ammunition, and if you want to have a Basculin, keep track of your recoil damage. That's all I'm asking. The Hisuian? Whatever. The Quillfish evolves into Overquill after using Barb Barrage in the Strong style at least 20 times. In Scarlet and Violet, it evolves when leveled up while knowing Barb Barrage. Okay, you know what? This is fine. We're going to drop the Strong style just like we did with Stantler in the Agile style. And just to say that Quillfish use Barb Barrage. Barb Barrage 20 times. And JP says that was no rabbit hole, that was a rabbit warren. You know what? I'm fine, because I love bunnies. I will take an entire warren of bunnies. Alright, and the last one on the list, Primeape. I know this one. So, Primeape, use Rage Fist 20 times. There is nothing special to it. There's no special stance, nothing else like that. Just use Rage Fist 20 times and then die of being angry. Alright, so, that is the unique triggers. We're going to take a quick look through here and see what else we've got. So, can only evolve in other games. That's Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee. I'm not dealing with those. Pokemon Coliseum and XD, no. Pokemon Go, no. Pokemon Unite, nope. Mystery Dungeon, nope. Not doing it. Pokemon Pinball. Of course there's a Pokemon Pinball. Zany Cards, Smash Brothers, the trading card game. That's it. That's all there is. We're done. We are done with evolutions. Primeape was the last one. So Alden says, I also want to highlight a Pokemon with a very unique acquisition method. Shed Ninja. Okay. Okay, let's take a look at that. Shed Inja. Okay, so it is considered a special evolution of Nincada, appearing only when Nincada evolves into Ninjask, starting level 20. If the player has an empty slot in their party and an extra Pokeball on hand. Alright, so specifics may differ in these. Let's look. So, evolution. So, when Nincada evolves into Ninjask, it also evolves into a Shedinja simultaneously, which appears in an empty Pokeball. Interesting. So, it's a bug type. It's going to basically molt and turn into a butterfly, or in this case, I guess a cicada, given the name. And then its actual husk is going to become a Pokemon. Which is why you now have a bug flying, because cicadas can fly, and a bug ghost, because it is a dead husk. Okay, so I'm glad that you brought this in. There's nothing that I have to do here. There's nothing that I have to change. These are good rules, and this works. However, if you have this Pokemon in your party, you're going to need to be aware. Because you're going to need to abide by all the rules if you want to have this go through. I mean, it seems to be that the Nincada is going to become a Ninjask no matter what. If you want to get the Shedinja, you're going to need to abide by the rules. Again, I'm glad you brought it up to me. It's an interesting Pokemon, but it works. It already works. And JP just says, wow. Look, Pokemon is twisted, okay? They went to the loony bin when they hired the people that make Pokemon. All right? Some of the stuff is just weird, and some of the stuff is just horrifying when you look at it with anything more than just a passing glance. This is really cool, though, actually. I really like this Pokemon. So, Nincada is a bug ground type. Why? Because cicadas burrow into trees and underground, and that's where they wait for years. This is one of those Pokemon that, like, this is weird, but everything fits. See, Alden says its stats are also very interesting about its ability. Well, the ability for Shedinja is just Wonder Guard. Which, I mean, is that good? Is that bad? What does Wonder Guard do? A Pokemon with Wonder Guard is immune to damaging moves that are not super effective except for struggle. Damn! So unless it's actually weak to it, it just ignores everything. That is a hell of an ability. What else does it get? Let's see. Nincada? Abilities Compound Eyes and Run Away. Compound Eyes raises accuracy. It's like literally the opposite thing that Compound Eyes do in nature. Run Away makes escaping easier. I kind of expected that one. And it evolves into to Ninjask. And Ninjask has Speed Boost, which, okay, fine, speed up. And Infiltrator. It ignores barriers. So, They bypass Reflect, Light Screen, Safeguard, and Mist. Damn, so one of them is just straight up immune. The other one ignores all of your defenses. That's just not fair. All right, well, anyway, this is a really fun Pokemon. Glad we looked at it, but we need to move on. Next thing. Now, I need to get another spreadsheet here. So, going to insert a sheet. It's going to be after. This is going to be friendship. Alden's saying check Shedinja's stats. Okay, hold on. We'll go back and look. Ninjask, Ninkata. Okay, Shedinja. Stats are going to be where? This is EV yields. Stats, right here. Let's see. Shedinja's HP stat is not calculated with the traditional formula, and instead it always equals 1. Shedinja only has 1 HP. That's... Okay, Wonder Guard makes sense now. So it only has 1 HP. However, you can only actually hurt it if it's weak to it, which means that it is a very, very situational type. And Blizz is saying every attack is a crit if it can be hit. I mean, it doesn't even have to be a crit, though. You could poke this thing with a pillow and kill it. If it was the right kind of pillow. Now, granted, it's a bug type, so, I mean, it is weak to Flying, Rock, Ghost, Fire, and Dark. That's 5 of the 18. Let's see. Alden is saying, but Poisons and Sandstorm can end it pretty easily. Can it, though? It says here that it's immune to poison. Does that include the... It should include the poison condition. It also says that it's immune to ground. That should include Sandstorm. I say should because, I mean, I don't know for certain. If you're telling me that it is not immune to those, then I believe you, but it should be. Very interesting, though. Also, it's immune to poison attacks, but not immune to non-damaging moves. I mean, still, it's interesting. That was a cool one to bring up. Good job. All right, but we have to move on. We're halfway done with the stream already. We got to get into friendship. So I need to get my format painter. There we go. All right, friendship. Now, I thought a little bit about friendship, and the fact is I don't really know exactly what this is going to do. I have a feeling, though, that this is not going to be too difficult. The problem is going to come in the adapting. However, I don't think there's anything about the actual benefits that you get from it that we need to worry about. Let's see. JP says, are bug types affected by lights at night? I can imagine walking down a country road and everyone has mosquito zappers. Alda says that bugs are weak to fire, but neutral to electric, so maybe not. I mean, to be fair, if you are a mosquito flying into a bug zapper, you're being hit by like a lightning bolt's worth of electricity. However, imagine if you just grabbed a bug zapper. Would it feel good? No, it would absolutely not feel good. Is a bug zapper going to kill you, though? No. No, it will not. That's why they sell them, you know, like in every single hardware store. As such, if you had a bug that is, 4 feet long, and it touches a bug zapper, it's not going to kill it. If you wanted to kill, or if you wanted a Pokemon level bug zapper, you're basically looking for a Tesla coil. Which, sure somebody can do. It's going to zap a whole lot more than bugs. Now, as for bugs being affected by lights at night, though, actually that is nothing mechanical, necessarily. That's more of a role-playing thing. Okay, if I wanted to, while I'm setting the scene for a town, I can say that, you wander into, and I just need a town name. You wander into Lilytown, okay? And it's nighttime. As you're walking through the streets, you notice that there are many streetlights that are already lit up, brightly, casting a great amount of light across the sidewalks and streets. At the same time, you notice several, what's a moth Pokemon? What's a moth? What if I can look that up? Wait, Mothman? Oh, no, wait, Dustox. Dustox is a moth. Poison moth. I love Dustox. I can't believe I forgot him. Alden says Venomoth. Okay, either way. So, they're both poison bug types, so it's fine. Either way, so you're walking into Lilytown, and I say, you're walking through the streets, which are lit, that they're lit by the street lamps. Overhead, you hear the constant fluttering of wings, ever so softly, like on the edge of your perception. You look up and you see almost nothing in the night sky, your vision partially blinded by the street lamps. But every so often you can see the form of a Dustox, dipping down below, flying past one of the streetlights. Up ahead in the distance, you can see that there is a Venomoth, which is hanging off of one of the streetlights, just gazing into the electric lamps. None of this is mechanical, none of this actually changes anything or matters, but it does actually make for some really nice world building. It helps to set the scene. It also means, though, that, potentially, maybe Pokemon has things to avoid that. Like, we have bug lights which shed red light instead of normal white light. Maybe every Pokemon town uses red lights instead. Which I think is actually a really good idea in real life. Or maybe they put great big canopies over their lights to direct all of the light downwards, and thus prevent moth Pokemon or other bugs from being attracted to the lights. There are all kinds of things that we can do that changes the world, that makes the world seem more lived in and more logical. Because you are right, if a moth is attracted to light, however, if I scroll down a little bit here, if your moth weighs 70 pounds, 31.6 kilograms. What happens when a 70-pound moth runs into a lamppost? You don't have a lamppost anymore. What was the other one? Venomoth? Venomoth. I like that one. I should have picked that one. Venomoth only weighs 27 pounds. 27.5 pounds, 12.5 kilograms. That's still, you know, a 30-pound bug. My Volcarona. Volcarona weighs 101 pounds. 46 kilogram. What happens when Volcarona flies into a lamppost? It's gone. Which means that, yes, JP says that that's horror movie lighting. True. It might be horror movie lighting. It also might be the only lighting that you get. Because the bugs at night are going to destroy every single other lamp. I mean, Bliss saying, and it would probably melt too. Maybe? I don't know. Does it say that they're particularly hot? It is a large moth-like Pokemon with 4 small feet. It appears to have compound eyes that are 2 shades of blue. There's red horn-like structures on either side of the face. It's fuzzy. The body is smoky white. It releases burning scales from its wings to engulf the battlefield in a sea of fire. The flames are said to provide replacement for the sun when the atmosphere is dark and with volcanic ash. Some legends claim that it is hatched from a cocoon of raging flames to save people and Pokemon in freezing climates. I don't necessarily think it's hot. It says it releases burning scales from its wings. So basically, when it flies, it leaves embers behind. But unlike Slugma, it's not just like fire incarnate. But still, when it's a 100-pound flying bug, honestly, I feel like that's kind of the least of your worries. Anyway, getting into friendship. I will not be deterred. I have been deterred. I have failed. Bliss says it has flame body. Okay, I mean, it does say it has flame body. I don't know if it's constantly active, though. It says it burns foes on contact, but does it have to be on fire if it's outside of combat? I don't know. And I have literally seen a picture of somebody hugging Slugma, so they're non-damaging out of combat. I can't get away around that. Anyway, moving to friendship. We have to do it. Okay, so friendship is historically referred to by fans as happiness. It's a measurement of how much a Pokemon is attached to its trainer and enjoys being in their care. In the core series of games, friendship was introduced in Pokemon Yellow, though only for the Pikachu received at the beginning of the game. So that's why Ash's Pikachu is so much more powerful. It only applies to Pikachu. Ash is a cheater. In the core games, friendship was introduced... no, we did that already. Friendship affects the evolution of certain Pokemon, the power of certain moves, the availability of a few in-game items and ribbons. Certain achievements and events can increase Pokemon's friendship. We don't need to worry about much of that. What we do need to worry about is how does it work, and look at some of the numbers. So let's see. Terminology. Don't care, really. Okay, general mechanics. This is where we're getting into it. So a Pokemon's friendship value ranges from 0 to 255. Great, so we're using a whole byte for this. And that's good. We can use that number. We can use that. I don't know if we're necessarily going to, but we can. Since Gen 3, each Pokemon has a base friendship value. The base friendship value applies to when a wild Pokemon is caught. And with most kinds of Pokeballs, and let's see, in most cases, Pokemon is traded. In Generation 9, there are 2 exceptions for caught and traded Pokemon. A wild Pokemon caught in a friend ball starts with 200 friendship regardless of base. And a Pokemon traded back to its original trainer regains its friendship it had before being traded away. Bliss says, Happiny and Eevee evolves with high friendship. Yes. But, here's the thing that we're going to get to. I know they do. My objective here is to not even touch it. Okay? I do not want to rewrite any of the friendship rules. Because friendship affects a whole lot more than just how some Pokemon evolve. I do not want to rewrite this entire page. Okay? I don't want to do it. What I want to do is find a way to adapt this page to work for us. Which is why we need to get into friendship rating and raising and lowering friendship. So, let's take a quick look at the friendship rating and see if there's anything here that we need to know. So the friendship rating refers to the various methods of displaying their friendship value. And this is just apparently people that will tell you what it is. In the core series of games, there's this. Okay, so like, I recognize some of these. I need to skip ahead to Diamond Pearl. Here we go. Heart Home City, no. Heart Home... Omega Ruby, Sun Moon, let's go Pikachu, Sword Shield, Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl. Let's see. Okay, so no, this is just when you're looking at the Pokemon to evaluate things. I was looking for like things that it would say during battles and such. This is fine though. This is actually really good because it does tell me something. There are, in general, it looks like 6 or 7 levels. There is 0 and max, and then it looks like usually 5 stages divided up by 50s. And that seems to be pretty common across all of these. Alright, so we can use that. Every 50 points, you escalate to another level. That's good to know. I'm glad I checked this. So that's what we're going to do. Also, I need to make sure I get back to this screen to scroll the chat a little bit. I don't know why it does it sometimes and doesn't do it all other times. So, we're going to need to put in here friendship levels. And it's going to be 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. I think. This will be 255. This is going to be 200 to 249. This one is going to be 150 to 199. This one will be 100 to 149. This one will be 50 to 99. This one will be 1 to 49. And then 0. Okay, I did that wrong. So 6. Yeah. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. No, not that. 0, and then that one can go away. So we got to keep that in mind because that's going to be our levels. Now, all we have to do is simply determine what every level does, and then how do we increase them. And that's where we're going to get into here, raising and lowering friendship. Now, this is where it's going to get complicated for us, because I know for a fact that there are a lot of things that are going to affect this. Friendship is generally increased by taking good care of a Pokemon. Keeping the Pokemon in a player's party, raising it, using items on it, getting it groomed will typically increase your friendship. Letting it faint, using bitter herbal medicines will decrease a Pokemon's friendship. Certain items and conditions can apply bonuses. These bonuses do not apply when friendship is not increased. So, for example, a luxury ball will boost its friend or increase its friendship, or any increase to friendship is boosted by 1. Okay, well, do you remember when we went through and did Pokeballs? We come back here and look at them. Luxury ball, right here. So, friendship gains +1. Okay. Now, at the same time, I believe in here, did we have a friend ball? We do have a friend ball. It's right here. The friend ball, I do believe, said it sets them, that was in Gen 9. It set them to 200 right off the bat. And yeah, that is in Gen 9. Since most of our rules are based in Gen 9, I am going to use that. So set friendship to 200. So basically it's the brainwash ball. Can you do it to your friends? It also says, additionally, a Pokemon hatched from an egg starts with 100 friendship. That's in Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl, or 120 friendship. Good to know. I'm going to come over here to the breeding area, and I'm going to go ahead and add something. So I'm going to go ahead and say friendship. And I believe it said 120, so 120. It was 100 in Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl. It says right here 120 friendship, so there's that. It also means that we're going to need to go through and add a friendship to our character sheets. Now I wonder where that's going to go. Probably going to go here, actually. So, underneath, actually, hold on a second. Hold on. We have alignment in here. We don't need alignment. We've never needed alignment. We're going to replace alignment with friendship. So, friendship. And then friendship. There we go. Because friendship is actually important to us. Alignment is not. And so that is a number that we'll be able to keep track of. And we'll be able to tell what number to put there because, well, I mean, we've got starting numbers. If it's a friend ball, you set it to 200. If you hatch it from an egg, then, you know, there you go. Alright, so, getting back to this. It does tell us that there are some things we can do that will change that, but whatever. Met location. Activities and events that increase Pokemon's friendship are more effective with the location where that Pokemon was first encountered. This effect exists in Pokemon Crystal, in Gen 3, and all games Gen 5 and onward. Duly noted, nothing that I need to change there. However, that does mean that it would be incumbent upon you as a player to remember where your Pokemon was caught. I'm not going to. It is actually not important to me as the GM to keep track of where your Pokemon was caught. There is a bonus to be gained, but this bonus is only going to exist so long as you remember it. And by that note, if you fail to remember it, I'm going to go ahead and assume that your Pokemon is going to fail to remember it too. So this one's on you. Make a note somewhere. Okay, I know that a lot of players just show up to the game with their character sheet and nothing else, but I'm telling you, if you are a tabletop player, get a notebook. Okay, get a notebook. Make notes. They don't have to be good notes. They don't even have to be comprehensive notes. They just have to be enough for you. Soothe Bell. If a Pokemon is holding a Soothe Bell, its friendship is boosted by 50% of the change. Okay. Effects of friendship. Here we go. Starting in Gen 2, there are Pokemon that evolve by friendship. Blizz mentioned that. Additionally, certain moves vary in power depending on the user's friendship. In Generation 4 and since 8, certain ribbons are awarded to Pokemon with the maximum friendship value. Cool. Some NPCs will only give gifts or teach moves when a player's Pokemon has a certain amount of friendship. Specifically, a Pokemon must have a maximized friendship to learn Draco Meteor, Frenzy Plant, Blast Burn, Hydro Cannon, Grass Pledge, Fire Pledge, or Water Pledge prior to Gen 9, introducing them as TMs. Interesting. I did not know that. I did see several of those in Gen 9. I didn't realize that was new. Okay, friendship attack or affects the base power of the following moves: Frustration, Pika Papow, Return, and VV Volley. Why do I feel like Pika Papow and VV Volley come from, like, Pokemon Let's Go? Either way. Frustration, though, I think is in all the games. So it's a normal type move introduced in Gen 2. It's TM21. Let's see. All it says, Frustration and Return were removed in Gen 8, unfortunately. Okay, well then, yeah, we don't actually need these. Which means that there's no moves anymore that are affected by it. Kind of pointless then. Pokemon that evolve based on friendship? Okay, I need to look at this because I need to see if it's actually determined. So, list of friendship evolutions. It just says, like, Golbat evolves with level and high friendship into Crobat. But does it tell me exactly what that friendship needs to be? So, evolution? For specifics on this Pokemon's evolution, refer to game data, evolution data. Again, this just says high friendship. But it doesn't necessarily tell me what high friendship means. I mean, I can guess. I can guess what it might be. But I don't want to guess. I'm going to look at the friendship rating. I'm going to look at the friendship rating again and see exactly what high friendship means. Alden says it's 160 according to the previous page. I must have missed that. I must have missed it. If that's true, though... PC says, Twilight Mon evolves by having 5 friends with high friendship and after crit failing a spell and then crit succeeding. That's insane. I don't even know what that is. But that's... I don't know if that's an actual Pokemon. It ends with Mon, so it could be a Digimon. But either way, those rules are insane. Wait, Alden says it's an MLP reference. How did I miss that then? Anyway, Alden says that the high evolution is on the other page. I trust that. I'm going to go with that. I'm just going to let that ride. So evolution's based on friendship. JP says the friendship mechanic needs a Pokemon Yelp system. Players get a rating from their Pokemon. I mean, there is actually something kind of like that because Pokemon will say certain things in combat. I was actually looking for that earlier, but it wasn't on the other page. PC says, think about how Twilight become an alcohol. Oh, okay, I get it now. I get it. Alda says, just Control F and look for 160. I mean, I could. I don't know how many 160s there are. Evolution's based on friendship. So from Gen 2 onwards, several Pokemon evolve when they level up having high friendship. These Pokemon evolve when they have at least 220 friendship in Gens 2 through 7, or 160 from Gen 7 on, or Gen 8 onwards. Okay, gotcha. Perfect. Alright, so 160, and we already have now a place on our sheet to keep track of that. So now we just need to figure out exactly how are we going to actually give these bonuses. And here's where we're going to get into the actual hard numbers. So, modifications, and this is in Gen 1. The partner Pikachu levels up while in the party. It starts as a +5, then a +3, then a +2. I really do not want sliding scales. I really don't. If I have a sliding scale, I'm just going to average it. Using medicine, even if it's unsuccessful, other than PP up, full heal, revive, max revive, ether, whatever. Challenging a gym leader with a non-fated partner Pikachu in the party. Walk 255 steps with Pikachu following. Teach it a TM or HM move. Yeah, it's fine. Here's a grid for Gen 2. And JP says, as opposed to soft numbers. Yes, believe it or not, soft numbers are actually a thing. Okay, soft numbers are a thing. I would even go ahead or go so far as say these are soft numbers, not hard numbers. Hard numbers don't change. Soft numbers do. I am going to scroll all the way down, though, and see if I can get to Gen 9. There's Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl, Legends Arceus. I think I've gone too far. Gen 8, Pokemon Sword Shield. Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl. There is no... Oh, wait, hold on. Never mind. Gen 9, right here. Gen 9 does not have a grid. So the effects of friendship do not occur in Terra Raid battles. PC says, Shadow versus Sliding Scales. I am Pentium of Borg. Division is futile. You will be approximated. You have no idea how true that is. So, modifications. Various actions can change Pokemon's friendship. Leveling up may increase their friendship. Walking them in the party. Washing your Pokemon or cooking with Pokemon at a picnic. If their friendship is at least 160s, only friendship-raising berries or picnic activities can further increase friendship. JP says, does Pikachu have to follow? Ash is walked next to or sat on his shoulder. It's the trainer whose steps count, not the Pokemon's. Is this right? So, for Ash's Pokemon, it's Ash's Pokemon. Ash's Pokemon is different. Always. When it comes to steps, though, technically speaking, the game is tracking the player's steps. Because it is the only commonality between, everything. After that, though, it's kind of assumed that the Pokemon is taking an equal number of steps. In Scarlet and Violet, it's a little bit hard because if you walk too far away from your partner just gets automatically pulled back into a Pokeball. And so getting the number of steps in is challenging sometimes. Alden says, essentially, Friendship 160 is when friendship evolutions happen. The game is actively blocking out the crazy in-battle effects from passive regular gameplay. If you want access to those broken effects, you have to actively work for it. Fair enough. Let's see. The following methods can decrease it down to a minimum of 0, letting a Pokemon faint, especially when battling a much stronger opponent or using herbal medicines on it. That's the same in, all of them. So, I think I need to borrow from some of these other ones. The question, I think, is then going to be, do I borrow from Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl, or do I borrow from Sun and Moon, because Sun and Moon is Gen 8? And even though Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl came out after, it's still technically Gen 4. I'm going to go ahead and say that I'm going to go with the Gen 8, because some of the things in here are very, very specific to Diamond and Pearl. Like the Veilstone City Massage Girl only exists in Veilstone City. Feeding them a Poffin, Poffins only exist in Sinnoh. So, yeah. And did I say Sun and Moon is 7? Or Sun and Moon is 8? Either way, I got it wrong. Gen 8, regardless. Sword and Shield. I think this is roughly the best way to do this. I need to make a list. I need to make a list of things. So, ways to increase. So, increase friendship. Leveling up. Level up is going to increase your friendship. Using friendship-raising berries. Battling against a gym leader or the champion. I don't necessarily know why this is a thing. However, I think I'm going to make that much less specific. Alden says the last column is because Isle of Armor and Crown Tundra allow you to let your Pokemon follow you when exploring the map. Okay, fair enough. I can still use that, though. I can still use that. Because we are going to be traveling, and we are going to be keeping track of distance. And so, we're not going to be tracking for steps, like we did with the Pokemon that evolved by walking. However, I can still make it so that we give bonuses for that. I can still do that. Anyway, battling. Just battling in general. Actually, no, I'm going to say winning a battle. Okay, because winning a battle is going to be a lot different than losing a battle. Fainting. Well, we'll get to fainting. Because this is all about increasing friendship. Walking 128 steps, walking 255 steps. Okay, so we're going to go with traveling. Outside Pokeball. So, leveling up. According to this, leveling up is, it's 3 points, then 2 points, and then 0 points. Once you're above 160 to 170, or, yeah, once you're above 160. I don't necessarily see a reason why that needs to be a thing. And like I said, we're going to be taking averages here. So, 0 to 3 is a range of 4. The average of that is going to be 1.5. So we're just going to round that up to 2, and I'm going to say plus 2. Using a friendship berry, it is 10, then 5, and then 1. Well, I'm going to go ahead and average that and just say plus 5. It's going to be always plus 5. That means that in the games, you would normally get a really good boost in the beginning. You're not going to get a boost here, but you're also not going to have it taper off. Winning a battle. This is a plus 5, plus 3, and plus 0. Well, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is 6, so divide that by 2. It's going to be 2.5, so we're just going to run that up to 3. Traveling is basically nothing. It's just like, it's a plus 1. PC says, good thing you added outside the Pokeball, otherwise I'm putting my Pokeballs in a rock tumbler and calling it a day. That is messed up. Okay, that's messed up. However, if you put them in a rock tumbler, does that give you a shiny Pokemon? Is that how you get shiny Pokemon? See, 2 can play at this one. I can be evil too. Hey, that is messed up. That's messed up. Alright, so that's all the bonuses from Gen 8, Sword and Shield. I'm going to take a quick look at Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl and see if there's anything I can grab from this. Level up excluding rare candy, okay. Battling, we got that one. Walking, we got that one. No massages, no poffins. We got berries. Vitamins, battle items. And it seems that putting your Pokemon in a rock tumbler is a popular idea now. What have I done? Okay. So using items in in Pearl and Diamond gave friendship, but that's not true in Gen 8. Was it true in Gen 7? Hold on, I'm looking. So there's a massage. We're not doing massages. We're not doing food, except for berries. Okay, it was true. Using vitamins is true in Gen 7. Using a battle item was also true. Alright, I'm willing to go ahead and do it. So, using / giving an item. This is going to be a +1. As far as traveling goes, PC says if it's a Geodude, it absolutely should work. I mean, that may be true. However, if it was a Geodude, I think that's honestly how they get smooth body. It's smooth body, isn't it? Wait, what's it called? Rock hard or sturdy, blah, blah, blah. Moves. Where's the moves? No, rock polish. Excuse me, that was it. That's how you get rock polish. Or maybe they can already use rock polish. They don't need the rock tumbler. They tumble themselves. Okay, traveling outside the Pokeball is going to be a +1 for every 24 miles. Why do I say that? Because it's basically just going to be +1 friendship per day. And, I mean, I say that because... Well, actually, no, that's going to be hard. Because you can only travel as far... no. Like, here's the weird thing. When we were talking about the, about evolving your Pokemon by walking, I said 100 miles. Now, that is roughly a little bit more than 4 days of travel if you're walking at 3 miles an hour. However, if your Pokemon are small... you can only travel as fast as your slowest member. As such, if you're traveling only 2 miles per hour, that's only 16 miles a day, and it's going to take longer. It's not going to be 24 miles. It's going to be 8 hours. Alright, it's going to be 8 hours because that is the longest that you can travel at one time without a forced march. And if it's a forced march, you're not going to get friendship for it anyway. So, there's that. Decreasing... friendship. Fainting, obviously. Bitters. Whether it's bitter berries, bitter herbs, bitter medicine, whatever it happens to be. And actually, fainting needs to have 2 categories. Because... fainting has differentiations. If I come back down here to... or no, wait, I was in the right place. If it's less than 30 levels higher, it's a minor penalty. If it's more than 30 levels higher, it's a higher penalty. Is that the same thing in Diamond Pearl? Yes, it is. 30 seems to be the number. So if it is less than 30 levels, It's a -1. If it is equal to or greater than 30 levels, it is a -5. And bitter medicine is apparently not in Sword and Shield, so let's check on Diamond Pearl. Looking. Revival Herb, that's 15. This is saying nothing about this. Just that bitter herbal medicines will lower it. Wait, hold on. Friendship rating? No, I don't want that. Scrolling. It did mention the revival herbs. I'm guessing the revival herbs are also bitter. I guess that makes sense. So revival herb is going to be a -15. So, there we go. We've got that. Okay, now, that is how we're going to be increasing and decreasing our friendship stuff. So, this is where things are going to get a little bit nuts, and this is why I don't like doing this to players. So what we're going to do now is, because we've got this worked out, now we're looking at our Pokemon, our conversion, and we're looking at the friendship level here. So every time that you do something that affects this, you're going to have to change the number. Now, my suggestion would be to keep track of all the adjustments that happen in, say, a battle or a day, and simply add them cumulatively to your character sheet at the end of that day, instead of trying to keep up, say, like a live count, which would be bad. Because that'd be just too much to do all the time. And trust me, because I have to keep track of a lot of things all the time. So you'll have this number, you'll simply update it when the time comes. Yeah, that should be fine. I'm good with that. Now, what does it do? So, that is Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl. Okay, starting with Sword and Shield, and then we'll look at them. What do Friendship do? So, at 0 to 179, which is 0 to 2 hearts, it does nothing. Once you hit 180 to 219, they move a little bit when they're sent out into battle. Okay, that's nothing. That's just nothing. We don't care. A 10% chance of not fainting when hit, or from a hit that would normally knock it out, leaving it with 1 HP. Basically, they're going to get sturdy. And that's fine. Is that also the same when we get into Diamond Pearl? Yes, not only that, but the numbers are the same on both sides. 180 to 219, 10% chance. At the next level, they bounce up and down a little bit when they're sent out. Okay, fine. 15% chance of not fainting from a hit that would normally knock it out. We can accurately do this with a D20. So 10% would be a 20 and 19. A 15% chance is 18 to 20. Boosted XP points. or approximately 28 or 20% more. Let's see, Alden says it's actually better than Sturdy. Sturdy only works at max HP. Not fainting can happen at any HP value. Yeah, I mean, that's true. I did say it's like Sturdy. I didn't say it was exactly Sturdy. I will absolutely live in the ambiguity. Boosted XP points, that's nice. That's actually really useful given that leveling up Pokemon to level 100 is going to be hard enough. 20% chance of recovering from a status condition on their own. I know that one for a fact because that happened to my Howard when I was fighting Cynthia. And at max level, okay, maximum friendship, they bounce up and down, which is nothing because you don't get to see it. 20% chance, that is a 17 through 20, of not fainting. XP is still boosted. 20% chance of recovering from status conditions on their own. 10% accuracy subtracted from an opponent's move. That is too hard. We need to give that a better number. Technically, that would just be like a +1, say, luck bonus on AC. Oh, looks like Blizz is out of here. Well, Blizz, it was good having you here. I was glad that you came. You have a good day, and we'll see you next week. Until then, take care. Let's see. And also at max friendship, they have an increased critical hit ratio. Namely, each stage's chance is doubled. Okay, that's actually really good. I'm going to go ahead and put this in here. I don't think that I need to, but I'm going to. Friendship effects. So, our friendship goes all the way up to stage 6, so I'm going to have to kind of adjust this a little bit. Not much, just a little bit. Alda says, by the way, is friendship limited to players or will other trainers enjoy them? So, gym leaders, absolutely. Okay, gym leaders will absolutely enjoy the benefits of high friendship. Now, how high that friendship is, I don't know off the top of my head, but they will get the benefits for it. As for other, like, random trainers that you find on the side of the road, probably not. And the reason is not complicated, it's just that I don't want to. I don't have much of a reason to go through and track all of that, and the less work that I have to do, the better I can keep track of everything going on. And I don't want to come off conceited. I don't want to come off like I'm doing something special, okay? Because I'm not. There are hundreds of people who run games every day. But most people do not realize what it's like to sit behind the screen. When I'm sitting behind the screen and just running a normal day of doing stuff, I have a travel log that is filled with events. Okay, and so when people are just traveling, like I'm going to take a day of travel for my players in the B team, which is currently running. And if you would like to join the B team, go to the Discord channel, go to the Behind the Screen channel, you can join us. But a normal day of travel, I have to keep track of where are they, where are they going, what speed are they traveling, how much ground are they going to be covering in this day. And that is what I can do at the very beginning of the day before anything else happens. I need to track where my players are, what they're doing. I need to know what the event is. And knowing what the event is, I also need to have my reference materials available. Is it another ship? Do I have the identification information for the ship ready? Do I have the character sheet for the ship ready? Do I have the character sheets for the crew ready? Do I have the map ready? Do I have all these things ready to pull up at essentially a moment's notice? Because you don't want to be wasting a ton of time. I also need to be interacting with my players and saying, okay, let's roll these dice to see who's awake and who's asleep today. What are your downtime activities going to be? What does everybody want to do? If their downtime activity involves rolling dice, I need to have those rules ready so that I can give them their DCs and have them roll their dice and get things moving. If they're doing something that has a cumulative effect, like research or crafting or composition, I need to have those numbers ready as well, because I need to keep cumulative totals on those. There is a lot going on behind the screen. Okay? It's a lot. And so the fewer things that you need to keep track of, the better. Which is why going through this, when we're talking about, say, friendship, the friendship grid here has sliding scales. So if you're 0 to 99, you get a +3 when leveling up. 100 to 159, it's a +2, and then from 160 higher, it's nothing. There is technically no reason why we can't keep this exactly the way it is. Technically. Realistically speaking, these numbers up here are numbers that I don't need to keep track of if I don't have to. Which is why we're simplifying it to a single number. Now, when we're doing this, it also comes down to things like, what about the NPCs? Do the NPCs also get these benefits? The answer is, by and large, no. It's not to say that I couldn't. I absolutely could. I will have a character sheet for NPCs for the Pokemon. It will be a custom character sheet so that we have all the friendship stuff. But do I want to keep track of the friendship information for the random trainer on the side of the road that we're going to meet, we're going to battle, and really never see again, or even think about again? The answer is no. I don't want to and I don't need to. And so for random trainers, we're going to skip all that. For gym leaders, it's actually a lot more important. This is supposed to be a challenge for you. It's also supposed to be a memorable experience for you. And so, for that reason, I want to give them every advantage that I can to make it the best encounter that I can. And since there's only one gym leader of that particular type in a region, it is worth the extra time and effort to go through and actually include these things. Nothing is being lost here, only gained. And so that's how we're going to differentiate these things. It's kind of like the EVs for the wild Pokemon. Are wild Pokemon going to have EVs? Of course they will. They're going to be completely randomized because I cannot sit down and write out the EVs for every particular Pokemon. I just don't have time. This is one of the reasons why I build generators, so that I can create these things as fast as possible so that we can play with them. And the downside is everything is a little less crisp, it's a little less clean. The upside is it actually creates a lot of weird things that you would not normally see. There is no right way to GM, and there is no perfect way to GM. And so, this is just my method. Alright, so the only thing that's really left to do is the friendship effects, and there's really nothing that I need to do on screen for that one, because it's just going to be this, this grid right here. The only thing that's going to be changing is going to be, we'll take the accuracy and give them an additional luck bonus to AC. And for critical hits, I can give them the improved critical feat. And that's all we really need to do there. Otherwise, I can copy this word for word. Which means that for all intents and purposes, friendship is done. I can fill this in on my own. In that case, before I get out of here, what do we have left to do? So, we already have a method for raising our Pokemon from an egg all the way to level 100. So, we have the method to breed them to get eggs. They're going to grow with experience. We have the EV system, which is going to allow you to grow your Pokemon in whatever method you choose to. We have a system that is going to allow those EVs to actually affect the moves that your Pokemon learns, as well as a system here for how exactly they're going to operate. We have all the status effects that we need to worry about, and a lot of them that just don't even really are not affected by anything. We have the way to catch Pokemon, including all the different balls, and how that's going to work. I think we're done. Do you think we're done? I think we're done. Pokemon conversion, stats, traits, and XP, we did it. It's done. The map system. There's nothing that I need to do on stream for the map system because that's just going to be really simple. Alden says there's one thing that we need to clarify. Move priority. Okay. Move priority is not something that I need to worry about too much, and I'll tell you why. If it's a priority move against a non-priority move, then the priority move always takes place first. That's easy. Alden says, how would quick attack work? So, actually, there is a really... you do bring up a really good point, and this is not going to take me too long. But it is a really good point, and I'm glad that you did it. I should have probably covered this before. Okay. Priority moves. So the thing about priority moves is that they always go first. Now, in Pokemon, you always choose your moves first. You both choose your moves first. And then everything is done by speed and priority. However, priority overrules speed. Now, in terms of speed, this is what we have initiative rolls for. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to say, at the beginning of the battle, obviously everyone is going to roll initiative. And that will determine who gets to go first based on who has the highest speed, and then we're going to take turns going around the circle. Priority moves, though, like Quick Attack. Quick Attack as a priority move is going to supersede everything, which means that Supersede is going to be an instant. Okay, it is going to be an instant speed. Which means that you'll be able to do it on somebody else's turn. However, then what? Do you get to use your Quick Attack and then use another move on your turn? No, that's not right, because the Quick Attack was your move. So it's going to be instant speed, and then it's going to inflict daze after. Which means that you have, say, a Pikachu, because Pikachu I know has quick attack. Pikachu has thunder, Pikachu has, it has lightning, it has all these things. On its turn, it can use those things. However, if at any time you are allowed to use quick attack, assuming, of course, that, you're in range and all of that stuff. You use quick attack, you get to do your attack right now because it is an instant move. And then, afterwards, it inflicts daze on you afterwards, which means that you're going to lose your next actual turn. You are essentially just trading your turn for a move. The difference being that you get to act outside of your turn. Now, as for reactions, like Protect would be a reaction, but it costs a full action. If it's a reaction, then we can do that. It's a reaction. If it triggers upon you being hit, it triggers upon you being hit. Also, let's say that I am controlling multiple wild Pokemon and I use Protect on my Pokemon. How would I determine whether or not the wild Pokemon attack my protected Pokemon and me, the trainer? That is more complicated than you think it is, because that gets down to how does every GM run essentially their NPC's AI. In general, okay, and this is very, very general, there is an entire list of caveats and nuances here. But in general, when you're dealing with animals, animals are reactive, which means they will typically target whatever last did them damage. And so, if your Pokemon has Protect on, and your Pokemon hit a wild Pokemon, that wild Pokemon is more likely to strike that target, whether it's protected as or not. And you phrased it beautifully. You said logically you would never attack the Pokemon that is obviously invincible. But animals do not operate on logic. They operate on instinct. So, NPCs, especially wild animals, will usually react to whatever last interacted with them. And this is meta-knowledge, because this is then something that you as a player can abuse. And this is why GMs don't generally talk about these things. Now, as you escalate into other things, if we were to say it was a trainer, well, first off, you're right. A trainer would know the difference and would perhaps not attack a Pokemon that's obviously invincible. Then again, a trainer is only going to be, or they're only going to have one Pokemon. However, I do believe that Protect only actually protects against one attack. Am I wrong? I don't know. Protect. It is a non-damaging normal type move introduced in Gen 2. It protects the user from all effects of moves that target during that turn, including damage. It does not include damage at the end of the turn, such as from weather or status conditions. Protect is an increased priority move that will go before most attacks. If the user goes last in the turn, the move will fail. Aldous says wrong. It blocks all attacks on that turn, which is why it is so good in double battles. Okay, either way though, if you use Protect, then yes, technically speaking, when we're going through all the different turns, every wild Pokemon that attacked it would not do any damage to it. Now here's the interesting thing. Remember how I said that the wild animals are reactive? If your Pokemon is using Protect, it's not reacting with them, which means that they have technically nothing to focus on. If they have nothing to focus on, they will usually default to whatever is closest. And if whatever is closest is your Pokemon with Protect, you're fine. If whatever is closest is your trainer, the Protect will do nothing because they're going after your trainer. And so if it's not reacting to an attack, it will react to distance, and this is where positioning is going to get really important. This is why you, as a trainer, and this is true in the manga, in the anime, in the games, whatever, you as a trainer want to stay far, far away from these battles. Okay, you do not want to be in there. Not only are you not the strongest thing on the field by a large margin, you just don't want to even be an option. So send your Pokemon out, stay back, let your Pokemon handle it. That's what they're there for. And then, you know, if your Pokemon just keeps using Protect, and your Pokemon happens to be the only thing on the field because you're standing way back here, you're right. Since your Pokemon is the only thing there, they're all going to attack your Pokemon. However, you're only going to have so many uses of Protect. You can Protect every single turn. You can ignore damage every single turn until you run out of Protect. And now we have a problem. Alden says, Protect does have a chance of failing if used consecutively. That's how it's balanced out. I'll look into that. I don't know what the chance is. However, you're going to run out of uses eventually. It's inevitable. You can't not run out of uses. Even if you use items which increase the number of uses for a move, eventually you will run out of items. So you can only stall for so long. It is inevitable. But, yeah, I think we're good. I think we're done. The priority moves, I think, are good. I'm glad you brought that up. The idea that it just inflicts daze upon your character after you use it, that means that you're not gaining a turn, you're just trading your turn. As far as everything else goes, like I said, the map system doesn't matter. That's just me making maps, whatever. Movesets, we did. The capture system, we did. Items, we did items. Friendship, we did it. Evolutions, we did it. Breeding, we did it. EVs, we did it. I think we did it. I think this is a fully playable Pokemon module. Is there anything you can think of that we missed? Because I don't think there is. I think we got it. Other than that, the rest of it is just getting players together, sitting down, picking a Pokedex, picking a region, picking, you know, all of that stuff, and building the game. I think we've got it. We have a fully playable Pokemon module. So, now I just need players to actually play it. So, I'm going to get out of here, and I'm going to say this. If you're here and you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, do that. Subscribe, hit the bell icon, that way you get notified every time these videos come out. Okay, I do the stream every week. Rain, snow, or shine, because goodness, it's snowing out there now, and I'm still sick. I'm still here. So, I'm always here. You can come. If you know somebody else who's also into Pokemon or either Starfinder or Pathfinder, because this will work in both systems. Do you want to have Pokemon in space? I can do Pokemon in space. Okay, I can do that. If you want to share it with them, go ahead and do that. If you want to leave a like on that, that makes me feel good. I could use some likes today. Send me likes. I need it today. Otherwise, you leave a comment down below. You can join the Discord, though, if you're going to go that far. In particular, though, and I've said it before, I will say it again. This module is ready. I am ready to start a game with it right now. So if you want to play Pokemon with us, go to the Discord. Go to the Behind the Screen channel. Okay? Let me know if you want to play Pokemon, or anything else for that matter. Let me know what your availability is. And as soon as I can get enough people together with the same time slot, we'll start a game. So, with that being said, thank you everybody for coming out for this module. Thank you everybody for coming out today. I am looking forward to the next one. Some people know what it's going to be. Other people don't know what it's going to be. It'll be a surprise. Hopefully, though, I will see everybody back here next week. Hopefully, I have it ready for next week. Gonna try. So I will see everybody then. And until that time, take care.